Hello and welcome to the podcast where we explore the world of audio storytelling with people responsible for creating enchanting experiences. I'm Oscar, he, him, and I'm on a pod quest to learn everything you wanted to know about audio drama and actual plays, but never dared to ask. And I am delighted to be joined by Dan from Dice with the Sword. Dan, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Hello there, folks. My name's Dan. I am the resident Dungeon Master for Dice by the Sword. We're an actual play D&D streaming group. We stream each Sunday at 7 p.m. UK time, and we are having a blast in our homebrew world of Nixalia at the moment.
Fantastic. And so when you say which games are you playing? Are we talking traditional D&D type stuff, or are we talking other kind of systems?
Yeah, so I come from good D&D stock. I've been playing the game for about 8 years. However, I am a fiend for plugging bits from other systems, plugging them into my own game. Taking all the glory,
really
going,
mean
I found a homebrew rule that I really like, and just plugging that into my game.
Yeah. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
But this is why I love it so much is that essentially what made me want to be a game designer, because that's my job, it's part of my job, is that love of D&D, that moment where as the DM or as a player, you're thinking about the way systems function, the way you're thinking about how they contribute to story, how they just mechanically feel nice. It's hard to describe that. Let's take a bit of a step back. So what got you into this hobby in the first place?
Okay, so it's interesting actually, because I was going to kind of jump in there and say that it doesn't happen all at once, and I'll kind of go into why in a minute. So I've been a nerdy kid all my life, hugely into Tolkien, hugely into anything high fantasy, and so I grew up in the northwest of England on a council estate just outside of Manchester, where to like those sorts of things is, growing up in the 90s, is very much like, oh my God, what a nerd, what a geek, get a shot. So it was very much like, I do that in the privacy of my own home, but then outside it was always like football and lads and all that. But I've been a nerdy kid from like day dot, really. Now, I'd heard of D&D right the way through my childhood and all the way through into my early adulthood, but I never really kind of tempted myself to get into it, and purely I think because I never had the opportunity to. I didn't have any friends that played it. I wasn't kind of intuitive enough to go and find games, so it was always kind of in the back of my mind. And then, just as many people did, so it was just before lockdown 5 years ago, so I was in Spain at the point, and it was the worst winter they'd had in 10 years, rained consistently for 2 weeks, and we couldn't do anything.
British summer.
Oh, I was in Barcelona at this point, right?
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Classic British summer in Barcelona in September. Yeah. It was awful.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks where we didn't have anything to do, and I was on YouTube just fumbling around, and lo and behold, I stumbled across, as many people did during lockdown, I stumbled across the first campaign of Critical Role.
Yes. Yeah.
Just popped up in my feed one day, and I thought, this seems fun. And it was great. Obviously, I wasn't naive enough to think, oh well, this is how the game's played by everyone. Every game must be like. I was very aware of the fact. I was like, okay, these guys are like trained actors.
These are actors.
And but it does kind of set a precedent in your mind's eye of going, this sounds good. I really want to play this. So I just kind of joined an online game as a player. So I started playing the game first. I joined a Dragon Heist game. The Dragon Heist of Waterdeep.
Very familiar.
Started to play that game. Had a brilliant DM in terms of rules and knew exactly what they were talking about. However, I am neurodivergent. I'm a kid with ADHD. My imagination is my playground. And I sat there as a player going, I could do that. I could do this. Like, I could run this. Like, there's no problem with this.
So just for a little bit of kind of audience, in case there's anyone listening who doesn't know what, Waterdeep is and all that kind of stuff, this is like the classic adventure of the kind of Sword Coast kind of era of D&D. What was originally the kind of one of the, well, not originally, Depends on which edition you go to. My D&D lore isn't the best, but I think it was third edition that Sword Coast came in. I can't remember. Someone in the comments, I'm sure, will tell me I'm an idiot and I've got it wrong. But it wasn't. So we had Greyhawk originally, and then I think Sword Coast, Forgotten Realms came in a little bit later. And Waterdeep is one. The Dragon Heist was one of those classics that's been brought up to date with the fifth edition. So you're sat there, you're a player, you've made a decision to do it yourself. What's the process that you went through? I mean, did you use? Were you just said I'm going to DM now, and everybody else in the group said yes, or did you find a new group, or how else did it work?
So it was more. So I kind of had a bit of a falling out. We're not going to go into the intricacies of why that went.
We're not worried about.
Yeah.
So
that group kind of came to an end through one means of another, and I kind of stepped away and thought, right, I'm going to buy the DM's guide. I'm going to buy the player's handbook. I'm going to buy all these things, and I'm going to learn how to do this myself because I fully believe that I can do this. So did what every normal first-time DM does, and I bought the starter kit, which holds the Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is. For those of you at home, it's one of the starter edition campaigns that is designed for low-level play and to effectively get any dungeon master's teeth a little bit sharper, right?
And it's not bad.
It's not bad.
I never run.
Fact,
yeah.
The Lost Mines of Phandelver has TPK'd more D&D groups than any other written module because of that first encounter in it. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I don't run pre-written. I got into D&D when I was literally, my uncle had the original AD&D in 1979 or something like that. It was the Ringbinders stuff as well. So we're talking about, he'd got a effectively photocopy copy before photocopy stuff. And so I'm 10 years old. That's my first experience. So when I started DMing, it was natural for me to make my own stuff up.
Oh, yeah, because there's no modules then, right?
Well, there were modules, but it's like, why would you do that when I can write a story? I've seen it being done. Yeah. My uncle showed me how that worked, and my imagination went running off.
Oh, yeah.
And, but I know a lot of people do swear by running. I think it's actually really important for a lot of people to at least have enough exposure to what a good DM does, and I think read enough of them the module material before you get started. So I think it's a really good thing to get started.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. It's a very interesting point, and I always recommend the same thing. At least run one module.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to get into dungeon mastering, just run one module. You might get to the end of it and go, "That was brilliant. I liked having all the options at every turn." Yeah. I liked having to, because you can break it up in chapters, and you don't need to read the whole thing. You can read it chapter by chapter. That's fine. Yeah. But for me, I got past the first chapter and went, okay, right, I know what I'm doing now. And so I've been homebrewing ever since. So my current group are venturing off into a world that I've spent 4 years curating and creating. So we're in my homebrew world of Nixalia, which is this high fantasy / steampunk / dark punk kind of setting. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into the game. And the first game game I ran was great. And then the second game I ran, I had some really, really good players, some really excellent role players, and we got about 10 sessions in and went, this would be good. Like, people would probably enjoy watching this.
Yeah. Like, so you were playing it before you decided to launch it out into the world.
It was one conversation after a game one night that went on for about 45 minutes. Everybody was very elevated after the session. We all were like, yeah, absolutely, that's a great idea. And the one thing you should never do to somebody who is who has ADHD and is wholeheartedly invested in an idea is give them the green light, because they will just run away like a steam train.
Did it become your special interest?
Oh, it may have just done that, yeah. And it has been ever since.
Yeah. So I've not been diagnosed, but I have lots of people who say to me, you reckon? And my son is got diagnosed. And for him, it was very helpful because he was able to get support for that. But I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the games industry and also who play games who happen to not necessarily be neurotypical, and I think one of the nice things about the hobby in particular, I know I'm going on a tangent, I just think it's useful because seeing you opened up about that. I think one of the things that I love about the hobby is that it allows us to have a space where our neurodivergence or not doesn't matter, but actually can be part of the story.
Well, like, I think it's celebrated as
Yeah.
well. Like the
Yeah, fair.
inclusivity and people's differences, not only
Yeah.
in around the people around the table, but
Yeah.
that's indicative of what the game is, right? Like
Exactly.
you're a group of people that create these fantastical people and characters in
Yeah.
your head, and they then get celebrated. And
Yes.
I think it's one of the most beautiful things about this game is that it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who you are, what you look like, your background, like what problems you're going through. As long as you've got dice and a character sheet or
Yeah.
a DM's, you're welcome at every table and you can just be yourself.
Exactly. And it's kind of ironic that because it's such an old game, there was a lot of historically kind of more troubling, not troubling, that's a bit too strong, but unfortunate phraseologies and structures that were of their time.
Yes.
That no longer helpful, shall we say?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But I also think that if you look back then, it gave people that didn't necessarily feel like they had a place in certain societies or like typical societies, that they had a place elsewhere. They had like right, and I think that's stuck true and held true for the entire lifespan of this game.
Whilst you're here, don't forget to check out our actual play, The Anything Could Happen show, on YouTube and all good podcast sites, where I put my guest players through no-win scenarios with limited information and always against the clock, and of course, where anything could happen.
Hello, candidates. My name is Brian Smith, and as you know from our communications, I will be the one deciding who will be getting this position today. Thank you all so much for coming. I have reviewed your applications and your qualifications, all of you impeccably well qualified. Now, Lieutenant Lennox, Dr. Lusmar, and Mr. Douglas, I have some questions for you that will help us determine who is going to be taking over the position. Excuse me, Captain Douglas. We will be making some distinctions here today, and then I will be making my decision in about 20 minutes, as unfortunately, due to travel restrictions, I do have to be off station very shortly. Now, my first question to all of you is that there are been some disruptions to spaceways and things like that in this around the Osiris station. So I would like to know how you have, in your past experiences in your various professions, how you have handled problems with space travel.
You can tell you've got me on a spiral here, because one of the things I miss, actually, I know it's rubbish in some ways, but there was something about the alignment system in D&D I absolutely loved. And it's so problematic in so many ways, but there's something about, deciding you're going to play a chaotic neutral or a chaotic good or a lawful evil character. There's something kind of fun and empowering about giving people who are not trained actors something to frame their behavior for that character.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it allows people to step into a space that allows them to explore feelings that they have within themselves safely.
Yeah. Safely. Importantly, safely.
Yeah, safely.
Exactly.
I think it's also for the people that, because there's going to be people listening, and for those who are listening, the next bit is going to become very relevant. And please put a comment in going, yes, absolutely, he put the nail on the head. For those who want to play the chaotic characters and the evilly characters, the safe space to do that is oddly cathartic for people. And they come out of a session going, I feel much better about it. I'm going to now enjoy the rest of my week.
Exactly. And we're not necessarily talking about the murder hobo type. We talked about the murder hobo last time. It was a bit of a dark kind of phrase, but it's something we often use flippantly. The people whose intent is they just want to sow chaos and destroy things because that's fun. But we don't have to be that extreme about it. But the idea of being able to find, like you say, these spaces to explore, but equally the ability to explore romance, the ability to explore, identity in different forms safely. Knowing that no one's going to be worried about it. Sometimes, playing an elf, can be a metaphor for other aspects of your life you don't get a chance to express.
Yeah, and I think it also it gives people the ability to, because I think it's got a place in industries such as it has therapeutic elements to it. People can explore like trauma that they may have experienced in their own life in a safe, constructed environment that they can kind of step in and out of that kind of scenario however they please, and they can explore how comfortable am I with this kind of moral kind of situation that we're playing through at this game table, how does that affect me as a person? Am I okay with it, right?
And we kind of covered a little bit when I was talking to John from UK Actual Play. One of the things that's evolved since when I first started out going to game conventions, we came up with a kind of not came up with it. Lots of people were doing the same thing, kind of safe words and things like that back in the day. And then later on, there was the introduction of the idea of the X card, and people like Monty Cook have pulled together kind of a whole bunch of like tools to help people feel safe and express what they're comfortable exploring, what they're not. And I think that says a lot about kind of how we've evolved as a hobby, essentially, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important. I think it is something that is so. Whenever I look at DMing a game, whether it's as part of Dice by the Sword or if it's part of the professional entity that I'm a member of, I always make sure that before any session kicks off, we go, cool, guys, so this one shot may contain this, may contain that, not to give the game away, but just to kind of signpost things that may be happening in the game. Is everyone comfortable with that at the table? If you are and you say you are now, but it gets too much, just stop me. We'll move past it. We'll fade to black, move to the next scene, and we'll go. And I think it's vital to, especially in this hobby, because of how emotionally raw moments can be for a person. You have to treat everybody with inclusivity, safety. Make sure that everybody feels comfortable at the table at any one point, right?
And I think that kind of that comes across to the audience as well, because we are talking here about actual play experiences which are intended to be viewed.
Yeah.
And so you want to take that audience with you and grow that audience. And if they can see that you feel uncomfortable in your group, they're not going to feel comfortable either, are they?
Exactly. And I think something that we do at Dice by the Sword really well, and have done since we started this new campaign, is we're comfortable exploring emotion.
Yeah.
And one of the key rules I have is 2 players can have a dispute, 2 players can have a falling out. That's fine. We have a 1 session rule though. Before the same point in the next session, you have to resolve it one way or another.
Yeah.
Have a conversation to the side, kind of shake hands, do what you need to do in character, but you don't let that kind of roll over for weeks on end, because that's uncomfortable for people watching.
Yeah.
And we're at a point now where we want to explore raw emotional moments in the game. So there was a moment a couple of weeks ago in our campaign where, as part of one of my characters' backstory, they'd wrote that they're an Aarakocran race and part of this military unit, and they went into this village, and within the wreckage of the village that had just been torn asunder, they found the bodies of their mother and sister.
Yeah. And
left. And I put a scene in at the end of a session the other week where her father was in his military tent. And then the camera kind of panned thematically, and it was just her sister sat there sharpening a sword, and my player just broke down and started crying because it was like, oh my god. And I was and afterwards I rang and I was like, are you okay? She was like, that was fantastic. That was everything I needed and more. And I think that's the important bit, is the phone call afterwards. Are you okay? Was
exactly.
that good?
I think there's something about that kind of debrief. So obviously when I'm looking at the kind of style of stuff I'm doing, I'm trying to deal with a kind of more structural, logical dilemma kind of problem rather than necessarily emotional. But at the same time, I want people to have sneaky tricks and kind of secrets that they know and get away with stuff. And there's something magical about having the moment after the session, which we do in the same episode, where they get to own up. And
I like that.
That I find that funny. So the reason I'm highlighting that is less about talking about my stuff, but more about highlighting the way we're telling stories in different ways and the way that we're using the frameworks. Now, some of the people I talk to are looking at kind of like in fact, Jordan and I were talking about this as well, where the use of the dice as providing emphasis and meaning to actions and choices. But I want to kind of explore a little bit. You just talked about emotion being the core of what you're trying to currently do. So you're building a story with performers who are then playing characters and creating this sort of devised piece. when you're talking about bringing emotion in, that seems less about the kind of rule system and more about the narrative context.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think that that's necessarily always driven by me either.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about, and I think it's clear across a lot of D&D games, is that two player characters can devise a moment that can be really raw and hard hitting. I've always been a great believer in the way that I tell stories. Is I like to throw as many of these moments up in the air, and whichever one lands for whatever character, if it does, we slow down and we experience that. We kind of zoom in and go, okay, why has that affected them so much? Why, what is your character doing? How has it affected them? For those that might pick up a session or two of our game as we go forward, you may notice that I use tools quite often to go, some moment might be happening over here with this character, but I'll swing knowing, okay, how's that affected your character? What are you thinking about right now? Okay, and what do you want to do now, knowing that you feel this way?
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Because I don't like the idea of stories happening to people. I like the premise of a story happening for people. Like, here's your playground, go and play.
Yeah, no, and I really like that. There was a particular technique I did try for a while. I was noticing that one or two of my players were. This is my home game rather than my podcast games. I noticed that a couple of people weren't coming out of their shell as much as others. So what I found interesting was trying to get somebody to give a summary of what had gone through for their character afterwards. I didn't maintain it, which I feel I probably should have done, but it was a really interesting experiment to see how that changed the tone completely.
Yeah, and I think it's a very good and very useful tools for DMs to have it like just in their toolbox, because you might have just had a character do something completely unexpected, which happens a lot of the time in D&D. If you, or any TTRPG, in fact, if there's people in here that play other games, you'll know full well that that happens quite often. And a useful tool as your DM brain is trying to think about the ramifications for what's just happened and how you're going to play it is to take the emphasis away from the exact moment and go, cool, I'm going to throw this now to a person that hasn't spoken in 10 minutes and ask them to describe how they're feeling and describe step by step as to what's happened, just to buy me 10 minutes or 5 minutes to start thinking about the next steps.
I like that. And I like I say, I've seen this technique a few times. I think it's really good for people who can pull it off. I mean, one of the things I think I hesitate over it, and again, just because I genuinely find it interesting, is sometimes, maybe it's my ADHD coming out here, is I abhor silence. I don't mean to, but when someone's struggling to step into that space, it's really hard. I know I know it's wrong of me, but you've got to give people enough space to be able to have that thing to say. And I think that's something I've recognized that I'm not always as good at that I should be better at.
Yeah, I think it is difficult. I wouldn't feel as too bad though, because again, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that people process things at different speeds, right?
Yes.
And what you might expect a player to kind of be thinking about to try and act on, because it might be blatantly obvious for you as the DM, because you know what you've got planned, right? But they might be sat there going, well, have you thought about this? And this could be affecting me. So I don't mind a pause. And if I notice, if I go to a player and go, okay, what do you want to do? And they go, I'll go, it's okay. I can come back to you in a moment. And I'll just shift and just kind of go, have a think. I'll come back. Don't worry. To give them that space, right? I think the difference, however, between a home game and making actual play content, though, is for me, I have to always be considering there's people sat watching this, so I have to always be thinking about, cool, is this a good moment to take a step back from the story, or do I need to move the story on? What moments to emphasize and what moments not to? You know,
because you're effectively the director of this audio drama, so you've got to keep and sustain the emotional intensity that's required for that particular stage and that part of the story, the way that the conversation is flowing. You've got to kind of find a way to kind of tinker the taps to see how fast the stream is going through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been times where where two members of the cast have been having an in-depth conversation about something completely inconsequential.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gone on for a little bit too long, and I've gone, and while that conversation, and just kind of, there is moments that you'll have to go, and while that conversation continues, we now move over to, you just have to kind of like do that, because I think, especially with any live piece of media, imagine, like, you come from the video game industry, right?
Yeah.
Imagine playing a role-playing game and you get to a cutscene and you're like, oh, this is really intriguing. And after 5 minutes, you're going, okay, it's kind of getting to a bit now, and there's no skip button.
Well, yeah, there are so many games. I hated Final Fantasy 14 when it first came out, because basically I spent about 40 minutes pressing the X key with no, just progress. I just was so tedious. Same thing happened with Watch Dogs 2. It's like, oh, not quite so long, but the first 5 minutes of Watch Dogs 2 was like X. I mean, it's just...
So you've got to think of it like in the same sense for D&D or TTRPGs. You kind of go, okay, this is a streamed game. There's no skip button, and if you imagine people at home with the fingers pressing the X button, you as the DM are going, okay, cool, we need to move this on. Right.
And this is kind of why I like my format for the game I'm doing at the moment, for the sort of show part of it, is because I try to say as little as possible, and I'm typing in the background on Discord update information to all the players, so they're the ones who get to say that the power systems have just gone down rather than me.
I like that. I really like that.
And it means that I'm sure people, what the hell is he doing? He's not looking properly at the screen. Why he's not saying anything. But it's because I'm busy away screwing with the balancing to make sure everyone's slightly off kilter.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I just think that again, this is, I'm saying these things because I think it just really emphasizes this as many different ways of storytelling as there are games.
Oh yeah, multitudes. This is why the industry's as big as it is, because I mean, it's going to come across as a bold statement now, but stay with me, people. Bold. Everybody is a storyteller.
Yeah.
If you're rolling dice, you're telling a story. If you're creating a character, you're creating a story.
Yeah.
I think there's so many wonderfully creative and wonderfully gifted individuals within this industry, within this realm of TTRPGs, that I was asked a very important question. I went to the UK Games Expo last weekend.
Yes, so did I. Yeah.
And I was asked a very important question by none other than Luke Gygax. So
okay.
I've known Luke for a good couple of years at this point, and we were having a beer in the Weatherspoons, and he just turned, and we were in the flows of things, and he said, do you think this is the golden era of TTRPGs?
Ooh. Well, he would know.
And, well, I said I do, but probably not for the reason you think. So a lot of people will think that this is the golden era for TTRPGs because there are so many of them, it's so easily accessible and all the rest of it. I, however, think that it's the golden era for TTRPGs because, and only because of its accessibility and the amount of creatively wonderful people that it has within its walls. That is why I think it's
were
amazing.
You on the panel doing the dummies?
I was, yes. I was the one that kept holding the paddle up going,
I was in the corner
please.
watching you, and I was so much fun watching you talking. And I, by the way, I didn't do any better than you in any way, shape or form. I did worse, I think. But that was great fun, by the way. Just thought I'd say.
Oh, thank you so much.
I only literally just, as you said, Luke, my brain suddenly remembered you sat there holding up the whiteboard with a big X on it.
Yeah, big X, and then the helps, please somebody send help.
Please, please send help. That's it. I love that. That was great. But I mean, again, I think that for those who don't know, it was a panel doing questions on how well you knew the specific rules of specific books. But my reason why I think it's interesting to refer back to is because that's a really interesting kind of example of where you had a live audience watching a bunch of people who play this stuff trying to get their head round the rules. And even Luke Gygax didn't know everything.
No.
Far from it. I thought that was wonderful.
I think so. This is something. So I sat an interview a few months ago now, and one of the questions I was asked in that interview was, "Do you think that you need to know a good portion of the rules to be an effective, or at least a semi-effective dungeon master?" And I said, "Absolutely not. No." I said, "You can be the best dungeon master in the world and know 20% of the dungeon master's guide. It is nothing to do with the rules. The rules do not make, or the rules do not like mean." Or guarantee you any sort of degree of success within it. I think that I'm a very good storyteller, but I will tell you, and my players will tell you, I have to look up rules weekly, and sometimes I just make shit up because I haven't got time to look through the rules and go, cool, sure, let's try and do that. I'm going to say that you're going to roll this, and then we'll see what happens.
It's kind of funny though, because where you're saying it reminds me so I had a bit of a gap of DMing because I got too kind of like blinkered in like the job of making games, and COVID was what kind of dragged me back into it with a couple of family games, and now I'm kind of like full speed ahead. But one of the things that I was worried about is that I don't remember the rules, and obviously the rules have changed and all that kind of stuff. And it was only the point where I got fed up because challenge ratings were rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
That I gave up trying to keep to the monsters in the book.
Oh yeah, it makes no sense.
I suddenly felt like I got my mojo back.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, I think I was quite well known for that very small community of the era for running improvised games. And I was I ran this science fiction game, which is basically the original story of where my actually comes from. At all of the big cons, and the big cons in the UK included a thing called Gen Con. We had a UK Gen Con back in the day. Sadly, long departed. Ratty, a friend of mine, was running it up to the end. Did as good a job as anyone could hope for. I missed that era. But it definitely feels like the hobby has shifted multiple gears since the 90s into the current day, and the biggest way of describing it was watching you on stage in a hall which was a hall the size of the entirety of the biggest of the other cons we ever had previously, and there's 4 of those.
Yeah.
And that scale, I think, really, and in fact, even that's not actually the size limit. There was also the Hilton full of a whole bunch of other tables.
Yeah. I think that's the evidence that if anybody wants to know if this game and this industry is popular, just come to Birmingham the last weekend in May to the NEC. Get yourself a ticket for one day. Don't come for the whole weekend. Just come for a day and just walk around, and you'll see. Yeah, go for the weekend. It's incredible. And next year, it might be even more incredible because there's things happening. Which anyway, but go and have a look, because the one thing you will not find is anybody gatekeeping. Nobody will be trying to tell you, oh, this version of this game is better than that version. Everyone turns around and goes, oh, I play 5e. Oh my god, I love 5e. I also play this. Have you heard of this? Oh no, I haven't. It's so. It's such a wonderful little community. If you go and you're a player of Uno, and you just play Uno in your caravan at the weekend, but you like board games, go. Because you'll find somebody, something that you will just be mesmerized with.
And particularly, I think, if you look, I mean, there was a whole family section. There was a whole... So we're not just talking about the Euro game, the kind of high-end, deep thought type of game experience, which I happen to love. There are a whole bunch of other things out there. There was some game I'd never played that had like gems on a river. I'm sure it's delightful. I'd never got around to playing it, but it looked very straightforward and very accessible.
Oh yeah. I was walking through hall 2 or 3 at some point, and I walked past and there was some cards laid out on a table. I said, "Oh, what's this?" And I swear to God, the guy turned around and went, "It's essentially Angry Snap. Do you want to play?" I was like, yes. Tell me more about it. You know,
I want to play Angry Snap.
You know, and there is. I think at the moment, the thing you touched on more was that they have a family zone. It is accessible to anybody from any walk of life. It's such a welcoming environment as well. They have some wonderful shows on. It's just brilliant. I think it's obviously, apart from my anniversary, my child's birthday, it's the highlight of my year, right? I look forward to UKGE more than Christmas.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and what I found fascinating is, just really nice was that you were surrounded by a whole range of people who were diverse people who felt comfortable in their skin
And
of every kind.
You'd be stood at a stall and you'd be
Yeah.
looking at a dice and
Yeah.
somebody you've never met before that
Yeah.
if you walk past in Sainsbury's wouldn't say boo to you, wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Turns around and goes, oh my God, that's amazing. I had my eye
Yeah.
on those. And oh, have you checked out this other dice stall?
Precisely.
Also, you know, and everyone's talking to everyone and everyone's so welcoming. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience. For those at home who have never thought about going, I highly recommend going because it's a wonderful weekend.
I completely agree. And there are other events obviously out there, so Dragon Meet being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are also more kind of traditional sort of tabletop ones. I think Salute's still going, I think.
I believe it is. My friend went there earlier this year, I think.
I haven't been to it for probably, maybe not 20 years, but not far off, I suspect. I think I was the last person to do a role-playing game there.
Oh, mint. Okay.
Long time ago. Anyway, back to the plot. So the reason why I think that's a useful thing to do it, that useful tangent to go on, because I think what we've just highlighted there was this is a very, very positive environment, a very kind of friendly audience who are as much behind wanting the actual players to do well and to tell stories and feel part of that storytelling process. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so. I think this is one of the only games that people enjoy watching almost as much as they enjoy playing it.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody is in need of entertainment. I think that the TV industry has gone down the Swanee in recent years due to streaming programs and the multitudes, the multitudes of video entertainment you've got out there. Like, there is a need for people to be entertained, and I think so. Kind of touching back on the UKG, we went as a creative unit, so the whole Dice by the Sword crew went, and we were doing interviews and such. So we saw it in a little bit of a different light than most people who are just, I say day passers, but that's a really horrible way to describe people.
No,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think getting back to what you were saying, I think that for an actual play group, it's almost as important to the viewers of where the story's going and how entertaining the story is to them as it is for the people around the table.
And there are parallels in video games. So we first I first kind of esport like event I went to was a thing called Quakadelica, which is actually my first day on my job, and I'd become the boss at that day. And the guy who set it all up and did all the work, guy called James Kay, still in the games industry, is an amazing guy. And so that was really the first UK sport event, bar none. And there was something about watching people playing in the Ministry of Sound nightclub with big screens and essentially a boxing arena that they had PCs playing on, and seeing that was the first thing. Literally, my first day on the job, 1998, and I go, that's it, that's the thing. But I missed that we were going to get YouTube, and that then this was going to be the biggest.
Yeah.
Watching video games content is bigger than sport.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is incredible. And I think the fact that we're now seeing the same thing, and I feel like I've missed back in the when we had people watching us running games and crying in-person conventions at the emotional arc. Why again did we miss the fact that now this is the staple form of entertainment for a lot of people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think I will always have a special place in my heart for some of the trailblazers. We're talking, we're talking the likes of Critical Role, High Rollers, people that literally caught the YouTube TTRPG era right at the beginning.
Yeah, because
they set forth a vision for people like myself to go, that's what I want. That's what I want. That's where the likelihood of us ever getting to the stratospheric heights of those individuals is unlikely. However, I don't do it for the want of money or fame or anything. I do it because I also really enjoy kind of performing each week as well.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of I don't know.
But it is genuinely a performance, isn't it? You are performing to your audience.
Yeah.
I always used to like Amdram. I know I'm not an actor, but I am a performer. I'm lucky I get to scratch that itch professionally because I host conferences.
Hmm.
But it's there's something different about being able to kind of build a story. So let's come back to that storytelling part, because obviously that's the
Hmm.
point of this podcast. We're again, it's to understand the journey and the process, and I'm hopefully I think what we've done here is also talk about the context of the audience as well. So you're telling a story, you're focusing on emotion, you're creating this environment where your performers, your players, are able to take their characters on arcs. Now, you're playing in a stream context.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Now, that's different from, because I'm doing a podcast, although I'm recording as if live, I don't have that energy, that literal on moment by moment audience reaction. Sorry.
Hmm.
How would you say having a live audience changes the way that you tell stories?
It changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes everything. There is so I have I'll see if I can find it while I'm here, but I have when I first got into this, I set up some rules for my players. I went and spoke to experienced individuals within the industry to ask like for some advice and all the rest of it. It is hugely different. Hugely different. I think things that you have to think about is your audience level will, like, excitement and enthusiasm level for whatever is happening at your table will always be less than yours. So you have to always in your head think, well, I have to be at 70 for them to be at 40.
Yes.
I have to be at 100 for them to be at 60, 70.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
the audience, unless you kind of get to like the heights of a critical role where you have thousands of people who wait every single week for your session, you have to think, well, you have to bring your best self every single week. There's no such thing as a down week. I mean, there is, but like, because you're live, you very much have to go, cool, lights, camera, action, boom.
Show must go on.
Exactly. Completely detached from whatever else is happening in your life, and boom, bring the energy, bring the joy. I think there's always a difference, and I will give some very kind of maybe hard hitting advice for some folks out there. There is a very big difference between playing a game and performing a game live.
100%.
Like
100%.
it's a whole different ballgame. You're still playing the same game mechanically, but you are not just playing the game with your mates at home.
No.
You have to be always mindful that there are people watching you.
And that's I think that's the sort of thing for some people takes a toll.
Mm-hmm.
I think for others they feed off it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the type that feeds off that performance process. How about yourself? I mean, do you find that energizing, tiring? How do you keep that working?
A bit both. I would say both. Probably like a 70-30 split between excitement fueled energy. It is something I look forward to every week. So obviously I'm planning for the session each week, thinking about cool things that I can do in the game. And I could go and my car could break down, my daughter could be ill, like me and the wife might have just had a spot, whatever the case may be in the day. Really rubbish day, but as soon as 7 o'clock hits and we go 3, 2, 1 live, like, I can't just come on camera and go, hi guys, welcome back to the stream. You have to be like, boom, guys, we're
let's
back.
go.
You know, we're live. Something that I think a lot of the group, so obviously we went and just spent a weekend together. They were like, dude, you're completely different, like, off stream. I was like, well, yeah, like, I'm not, like, you have to be. Like, if I was like that all the time, I'd get locked up, man. Like,
you'd be exhausting.
Someone would put me in a loony bin. Like, I'd be in a white jacket quicker than anything. But it is tiring. It can take its toll, but not necessarily because of the energy exertion. But there is sessions that you'll get to the end of, and there will be that kind of emotionally heart wrenching and pulling, and you know, there could be mammoth moments where I've got to spin a lot of plates that I kind of come to the end of the game and just slump in my chair after I've come off stream and gone, oh, you know.
But it sounds to me, I'm guessing you get that kind of like rest of the just kind of feeling.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm doing mine, it's like I may not feel in the mood, but I always feel better for it afterwards.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I know that's. I mean, maybe that's, I don't know, an extrovert personality trait or whatever. But I definitely feed off it personally. So let's think about the as we're talking this through, we're talking about kind of like streaming. What technically are you using? What tools allow you to get that stream active?
So a multitude. So there is, in terms of technology, we use OBS, so Open Broadcasting Software. So we use OBS. We also use Video Ninja for our video software. We have a little system that, for those of you at home who are streaming and want a really easy way to use YouTube video music in your streams, which I use, there's a program called Watch Together.
Okay.
So effectively, you can all play the same YouTube video together on the same platform, which is really cool. A lot of Don John for my D&D stuff. For my DM notes, I use Obsidian. I swear by Obsidian. It's incredible, especially with all like the plugins and everything. And then
my son keeps trying to get me to switch. I've been using Evernote forever, and I know it's not ideal, and I probably should switch to Obsidian, but I just haven't managed to push myself over the edge.
One of those things that once you do, and then beyond that, we stream on Twitch, so there's an element of making sure that the stream deck's up and that we've got all the right software within the PC. So something that we pride ourselves on is that we're quite a high quality, polished stream. With very little technical faults, with high quality cameras, all the rest of it, so it does look polished.
So just to be sure, you're switching solely to you're streaming solely to Twitch, or do you multi-stream?
So we stream purely to Twitch.
Yeah.
Only because it's multi-choose. So if you want to watch D&D and you want to watch D&D live, it's a lot easier to find a D&D stream on Twitch than any other platform. Right?
Yeah.
However, we do then go edit our videos to put VOD versions up on YouTube. One thing that I would recommend if you are a streamer and you're listening to this podcast is break your episodes down. Do not post 3 hours of VODs, because that is not going to catch anyone's eye. People will watch Critical Role because they have a captured, dedicated audience. That's why they're getting the views. If you're a brand new stream and you're posting 3-hour live plays and actual plays, it is very unlikely you're going to get very many views on YouTube, because they won't push 3-hour content. Short form content is key, so get your clips edited, bang as many clips out there. And it's interesting, and the reason I say this is you've heard of Legends of Vantress, right?
Yeah.
Cool. There was a post that I found on Facebook about 3 or 4 weeks ago of somebody going, "Hey guys, getting a little bit bored of watching Crit Role, and I've watched all of Dimension 20. Can anyone recommend a good actual play D&D stream to watch?" And somebody commented going, "I've never watched them, but I highly recommend Legends of Avantris. Their shorts are incredible." Captured audience purely because of the short form content they create. Totally amazing. So short form content, and slice your episodes up into bite-sized chunks, which is what we do. And I found it's a lot easier.
But where I come from, that way of thinking is from, because I worked in telco, setting up kind of mobile operators and running game platforms and that. We learned to do short form content when we set the three mobile games platform up. So we were doing short form gameplay trailers back in like 2003, and people were paying 50p a watch. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think the era and the age in which we live in now, people's attention spans are less. Because there is a plethora of content out for any kind of niche you can imagine. If you're really into Superman, there is thousands of people creating like content about Superman, right? If you're into Stretch Armstrong, there is going to be someone who's dedicated to the lore and all that about Stretch Armstrong. You will find content about anything.
And the trouble is, I know you're right. I wouldn't know what it is, but I know you're right.
Yeah. So, short form content, absolutely.
But I think it's really interesting because I don't know about how you're splitting up your VODs, but because I'm recording relatively short episodes, and I can record two in a 2 hour recording session, I get 2 episodes out of it. But I then will try to make sure I've got 2 shorts from each episode, and they're part of my promotion process. I mean, I think I've still got to improve the way that works, but there's something really nice. I mean, I'm only getting a few views, but I'm getting like hundreds of views. 500, 600 views for a short compared to the getting 20, 40. And again, remember, I'm a few weeks into this.
Yeah.
But it's the order of magnitude difference, and I'm sure that as I go up in the in listener numbers as I get through the next 18 months or so, because I think it takes about that long to get there, I'm sure that short stuff is going to improve. And I think getting comfortable with posting shorts is going to be an incredibly important part of my personal kind of like audience garnering, for want of a better phrase. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice that I received, and it was only recently, within the last 6 months, is what a lot of people within this industry, content creation for TTRPGs, do, and a lot of the biggest mistake they do is that they only push product. Yeah. Right? Like they go, oh, we're live now, and they're posting it to a social media platform that nobody's engaging with because it's basically just a promotional tool, right?
Yeah.
People need to get comfortable with getting in front of the camera and talking to it, and talking to the people on the other side to try and catch someone's attention, because people don't buy into product, people buy into people. Yes. So we've had the most success that we have had with Dice by the Sword are our videos where it's either clips of us as people or interview clips where we're just talking and engaging. Some of the shorts that some of the stories that we do, which are stupid. I filmed one yesterday going, yes, I'm just filming going, yes, guys, I know the YouTube video isn't up. I know I'm editing it, blah, 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 blah. It's engaging with the people on the other side of the phone because people want to be engaged with, right? So don't put the advice was don't put a barrier between what it is you're trying to do and the people that you're trying to entice into it. Like, break down the barrier and just be as transparent and show people your face and go, dude, I'm here to try and make it, so help me.
I love it, and I think it's the principle of authenticity, which seems to be kind of the most fundamental thing at the end of the day. I think something we said off camera before is that when you've got a community like this, the more we talk and share with each other. I mean, frankly, this is the point of this podcast. It's an excuse for me to get to know a lot of other actual players, because I think it's interesting to see what we're doing, and we're all sharing this common goal, wanting to tell our stories and explore what stories are possible.
Yeah, because I think we have to, right? I think I like to think of myself as an honorable person, right? I have been known to give people the keys to my kingdoms, my programs. Like, I've given people access to my paid accounts before now so that they can create promotional content because they don't have software to do it. Because why not?
Absolutely.
Why not? I think the statement I made, we won't go into why we got onto that subject off camera, but why not? We're not. There's millions of people who like this sort of stuff in the world, right? What are you going to do? Take one more person off another person? What's that going to do for you?
Well, but your stories are different from my stories. They're different from Jordan's stories. They're different from Critical Role, Dimension 20, you name it. And actually different from Emily and Chris, who do the Dex Legacy, which is an audio drama, who I'm going to hopefully talk to next. Those guys are absolutely telling stories. They just happen to be coming at it from a scripted perspective.
Yeah.
And in their case, they're spending a lot of time crafting the audio structure. And now I'm making an assumption here, given that you're going out live, and apart from the kind of audio sharing tools, YouTube audio sharing tools that you've already said that you use, you're not going to be doing much in the way of post, I'm assuming, to adjust it, or are you? Yeah.
No. So our post production is very simple, because I'm a great believer in a key thing that you said before about authenticity. I want people to see the bits where I bumble through a monologue because I've misread something and everyone laughs at me. I want people to see when somebody has forgotten the accent they used the week before and comes out completely different. they're the moments that when you watch them, you see that like we're all human, right? Like, so I get the episode and cut the beginning of it, the stream starting, cut it there, get us to the break, cut that bit, top tail it, run an audio enhancer to make sure the audio is good quality, upscale the video to 2K, and boom, done.
Yeah, exactly.
Done. Easy. I don't. There's no post production. There's no going through the episode going, oh, there was a silence there. Should I kind of cut or anything? No. I want people to see us in like live and direct.
In all of it. And it's kind of interesting because we do quite a bit of post production, but then I've got a filmmaker son who can edit my stuff. But more importantly, even in that context, the actual play we don't muck about with.
Yeah. Because that's the good bit. That's the juice. That's the gem, right?
And especially my favourite bit is the bit where we get to where they do the debrief. And I mean, do you get the chance to do that kind of like? I mean, it sounds like you did something like this with interviews. Do you chat and sit back with your crew and record them talking about their experience playing?
Yeah, so we are running. So our campaign is running on an arc system. So rather than one tangential, is that a word? No, it isn't. But one continuous story plot hook. Like, we're not running the Horde of the Dragon Queen that's done over the Tyranny of Dragons over 3 books. That is all just one sequential story. It will be ran in arcs over a period of 3 or 4 years, where you can watch one arc and it will be a self-contained story. Where by the time we get to the end of the campaign, the thin skeleton that runs through all of them will come to a conclusion. But what we'll do at the end of each arc is we will sit and we'll have half an hour of a fireside chat and go, cool, guys, what was your favorite takeaways? Like, what was the worst thing about it? Like, what moments stood out to you? What moments are you not going to forget about? Or what moments can you not wait to forget about, in some cases? And and I think that's a really good tool to use as well, especially for a DM. Now, here's the source, because then you go, so what was your takeaway moment? Oh, I really liked the moment where and this happened, and you go, cool, note to self, sprinkle more of that in later. And you can then start structuring your campaign to what your characters and players want and enjoy.
But this is why when I'm doing my home games, this is why I love the planning session.
Oh yeah. Session 0.
No.
Oh, the planning for the game.
I'll set up. There is an army coming, or there is a thing going to happen. You've got to defend the inn from marauders, and I'll give them time to plan. So basically, they're doing my planning for me.
Yeah. It's so good. So I've had so many scenarios where I've gone, oh, I really think this would be a really cool thing to do, but I don't know where it's going to go next. So you go, you set it up, and then you sit back, and they go, cool, so this is the plan, right? And you go, type. Yep, cool. Okay, cool. Let's run with that.
I do have to hold my hand up and say, it is important when you do that technique that you can't just slam on what they did. You've got to still make it so that you've got to sort of step back and think in the mind of the enemy what they as a group would do, on the basis that it's got to still feel natural. You don't play us to feel railroaded.
No. Yeah. Well, it's that also leans into the no but and yes and, doesn't it?
Yes.
Never say no to a player. Like it's so derailing and so absolute. Your players go, oh, we're going to do this, and this. You go, okay, well, no, that doesn't happen. But by doing this, right? Don't just dead stop anything ever.
And the yes and is such a great technique from improv. We're lucky that one of our cast is a comedy improver, and they'll run with us occasionally a whole like improv warm up. Just to get us all in the right frame of mind. And I've noticed that the episodes where we've done that start much more dynamically. Which is kind of fun. Anyway, so we're kind of, I think, getting to the point where I should probably wrap up, but I really appreciate your time, Dan, and it's been really good fun. And what I want to do, though, is just to finish it off, what's the one piece of advice you would give somebody who wanted to start doing this insanity of an actual play?
Oh, okay. Don't be, oh God, you're going to have me spiraling on lots of different advice here, but It's harder than you think,
Yeah.
but not as hard as you imagine, as long as you're willing to put the hard yards in. It is hard work. It will take dedication. Jordan, that you spoke to last week, has a beautiful habit of telling people that he's never known anybody to do the things that I do, and I only do what I do because I'm dedicating to try and making this work, and I will break through walls to make this successful.
Yeah.
You will have good weeks, you will have bad weeks. Do not be deterred. Stick to what you know, perfect what you can perfect, and learn what you can't.
Yeah.
And just keep going, because at the end of the day, if 4 people watch you, you're probably making 4 people's weeks, and that's the important message. It isn't for you. If you're into actual play, you're doing it partially for you, but it could be really helping someone through something. So keep doing it, man.
Love it. Absolutely agree. And I think that's really the fundamental. So thank you very much, Dan. I think hopefully what we've been talking about here is a whole bunch of things around the whole where different storytellers come from and start on their journey of telling stories. And obviously we've had that experience we've been talking through here, but also I hope we've also tapped into what the audience is like. This amazing, collaborative, diverse, welcoming, friendly space that is the audience of the actual play. And we've talked about the physical, in real life meetings of people and watching folks up on stage in real life talking and getting the rules wrong. Anytime. Hey, one day Jordan might have me out there. He did not want me up there. The key thing is, though, that what we're talking about is a dedication and the kind of style of frequency of play you can maintain, the kind of energy that you can maintain is absolutely something you need to understand at the start, because this is a marathon. I'm only just starting out, and I can already tell it's going to take 18 months to 2 years to get to the point where I feel I'm going to have a good understanding if I've got an audience at all. And I don't know if that feels right to you, Dan, or not. But
yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I'm still learning things now. And that's what I mean. Perfect your craft, perfect what you can, and learn the rest. It takes time.
And it takes me back to my favourite Mythbusters, which is failure is always an option, but the only difference between science and screwing around is writing things down. So the more we spend time paying attention to what went right, what went wrong, and keeping at it, the only real failure is giving up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On that note, Dan, once again, thank you very much for being there. If you've liked this, if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share. If you've got thoughts, comments, please tell me and write them in the streams. Tell your friends, whatever. But we'll hopefully be having more people here talking about the making of amazing stories, whether that's through scripted narrative, whether it's devised pieces, or the actual plays that are using gameplay rules as well. So thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, this has been your podcast talking about amazing audio stories.